On the Fourfold Root of the Principle of Sufficient Reason, a philosophical treatise by Arthur Schopenhauer, translated by Madame Karl Hillebrand, read by Leighton Pugh for Ukemi Audiobooks. In the name of Him who instilled the fourfold in our spirit, which is the source and root of the eternal flow of creation. Pythagorean Oath. The author's preface to the second edition. This treatise on elementary philosophy, which first appeared in the year 1813, when it procured for me the degree of doctor, afterwards became the substructure for the whole of my system. It cannot therefore be allowed to remain out of print, as has been the case, without my knowledge, for the last 4 years. On the other hand, to send a juvenile work like this once more into the world with all its faults and blemishes seemed to me unjustifiable, for I am aware that the time cannot be very far off when all correction will be impossible. But with that time, the period of my real influence will commence, and this period, I trust, will be a long one, for I firmly rely upon Seneca's promise, "Although envy imposed silence on all your contemporaries, those men will come who judge without ill will and without favour." I have done what I could, therefore, to improve this work of my youth, and considering the brevity and uncertainty of life, I must even regard it as an especially fortunate circumstance to have been thus permitted to correct, in my 60th year, what I had written in my 26th. Nevertheless, while doing this, I meant to deal leniently with my younger self, and to let him discourse, nay, even speak his mind freely, wherever it was possible. But wherever he had advanced what was incorrect or superfluous, or had even left out the best part, I have been obliged to interrupt the thread of his discourse. And this has happened often enough, so often indeed that some of my readers may perhaps think they hear an old man reading a young man's book aloud, while he frequently lets it drop, in order to indulge in digressions of his own on the same subject. It is easy to see that a work thus corrected, after so long an interval, could never acquire the unity and rounded completeness which only belong to such as are written in one breath. So great a difference will be found even in style and expression, that no reader of any tact can ever be in doubt whether it be the older or younger man who is speaking. For the contrast is indeed striking between the mild, unassuming tone in which the youth, who is still simple enough to believe quite seriously that for all whose pursuit is philosophy, truth, and truth alone, can have importance, and therefore that whoever promotes truth is sure of a welcome from them, propounds his arguments with confidence, and the firm, but also at times somewhat harsh voice of the old man, who in course of time has necessarily discovered the true character and real aims of the noble company of mercenary time-servers into which he has fallen. Nay, the just reader will hardly find fault with him should he occasionally give free vent to his indignation, since we see what comes of it when people who profess to have truth for their sole aim are always occupied in studying the purposes of their powerful superiors, and when the e quovis ligno fit mercurius, Mercury, the gold, can be carved from any piece of wood, is extended even to the greatest philosophers, and a clumsy charlatan like Hegel is calmly classed among them. Verily, German philosophy stands before us loaded with contempt, the laughing-stock of other nations, expelled from all honest science, like the prostitute who sells herself for sordid hire today to one, tomorrow to another, and the brains of the present generation of savants are disorganized by Hegelian nonsense. Incapable of reflection, coarse and bewildered, they fall a prey to the low materialism which has crept out of the basilisk's egg. Good speed to them. I return to my subject. My readers will thus have to get over the difference of tone in this treatise, for I could not do here what I had done in my chief work, that is, give the later additions I had made in a separate appendix. Besides, it is of no consequence that people should know what I wrote in my 26th and what in my 60th year. The only matter of real importance is that those who wish to find their way through the fundamental principles of all philosophizing, to gain a firm footing and a clear insight, should, in these few sheets, receive a little volume by which they may learn something substantial, solid, and true. And this, I hope, will be the case. From the expansion now given to some portions, it has even grown into a compendious theory of the entire faculty of knowing. And this theory, by limiting itself strictly to the research of the principle of sufficient reason, shows the matter from a new and peculiar side. But then it finds its completion in the first book of The World as Will and Representation, together with those chapters of the second volume which refer to it, and also in my critique of Kantian philosophy. Arthur Schopenhauer, Frankfurt am Main, September 1847.